Michael in Phoenix, how are you doing?
All right, how are you?
Good.
Good.
I'm a first-time caller. I've been watching the show for about a year and a half now. I just want to say I really appreciate what you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a quick statement and a quick question. Kind of goes in with what you've been talking about, and it's sort of about how many religious people, when they're confronted with contradictions in their beliefs, resort to nonsense. And I find it funny that many religious people I encounter, I'm an atheist, seem to think that they can prove the existence of God with a carefully worded sentence. And they don't seem to realize that sometimes they also undermine their own arguments with their own sentences. So I wanted to ask you guys about an experience I had several years ago when I was getting ready to get married to a person who was a believer.
Mm-hmm.
And we were getting some pre-marriage counseling with a pastor.
Yeah, religious, of course. Knew that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was trying to be accommodating. And the pastor asked me how committed I was to this marriage, and I said something to the effect of, well, for the rest of my life. And then as an afterthought, I just said, well, and after that, too, because, I'll be dead, but I'll never marry anybody after that, so, for forever.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it was just a throwaway comment. But the pastor said, no, that's not how it works. When you die, you don't go to heaven with your spouse. Go to heaven with your family. Now, of course, being a rational person, smoke was coming out of my ears, and I was trying to hide that fact. But,
I would have just been
I
laughing.
wanted to say, excuse me?
I would have just been laughing. I would have been like, okay.
What if I like my spouse better than, the people I happen to be blood related to?
But aren't they my family?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is family? I mean,
You're supposed to leave your mother and father. Anyway,
so
go ahead.
if you adopted a kid, they're not going to be with you in heaven? Only
They're
the
not
ones you actually
family.
produce naturally?
Well, laughing was my initial impulse, but I was trying to be,
Okay.
polite and accommodating. So
You should have hit
and
your spouse to be and said, "You believe this guy?"
well, when we were walking out to the car, and I'm not trying to put anybody down. I'm not married to this person anymore, but she's a wonderful person.
Now we know how committed you were.
Yeah, liar.
Yeah. But when we got out to the car, she looked at me and said, "What's wrong?" And because I obviously couldn't hide it anymore, and I said, "That doesn't make any sense. I mean, how can you be married to a person and they're part of your family, but then when you die, they're not part of your family? And if everybody is with their family but not with their spouses,
How are your mom and dad
parents,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, everybody's parents are somebody else's family.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I guess in heaven it's just filled with orphans everywhere. And
Exactly.
just clusters of parentless children everywhere. And
Yeah, that's
which doesn't
it.
seem to coincide with what we've been taught. So I guess my only question to you guys about this is, isn't it amazing that when people think that they can explain something like that just off the top of their head, even though it's not really even in their book?
I was just about to ask you what religion was this? Like what sect?
Evangelical Christian.
I've never heard what you've said. Like I have never.
I had never heard it
that
either.
before.
Not only that, but to me, from my background, and granted, this is monumentally stupid. I'm going to go be with my family until that doesn't mean my mom and my dad because they went to be with their separate families. But this to me also doesn't match with what the Bible actually has to say because it has this idea that a man is to leave his family and go and cleave unto his wife, and that becomes his new family. There's this separation. None of this makes any sense.
You still, though, you have
Yeah.
to wonder what would the pastor have said if you would have said, "How are my mother and father going to be together?" Like, what would he have
see, that's
said?
the thing. You can't tug at the thread on the sweater too much, or it'll start to come undone.
Right, but I mean,
I think it's
I'm
unfair to
sitting
call it
here
a sweater.
Thinking, I would love to be able to ask this man that question and hear
And I'd love to
what's
be
in
able
his
to ask
head.
him where he came up with that, because
Well, I don't
and
even-
that's my problem.
To
How,
me,
how do these people just interpret these things off the top of their head?
Yeah, I
without-
don't know where he
and
got
then-
it, but the point is, it falls, like you say, it falls apart.
Yeah,
so,
with one question.
So how would he even, like, would he just stop in his tracks? Would he get like a brain lock where he just sat there? Or would there be some other explanation that has he thought about that and he has some other weird answer? Like we have these doppelganger families, or, I mean, I don't know. You just wonder what he would have said.
You sit there and you say, well, if that's the case, Father, I don't think I want to get married because you would like for me to get married and then have kids. well, when my kids die, if they're going to come be with their family, but I'm not going to be with my wife, I don't think that's fair to my kids.
I've actually questioned people like that, just pure curiosity, like what you're saying. They say something like that, and then you think, but wait, how would the parents be together? And I'm the type of person that will just say, so how do the parents get together then? Like how are your mom and dad together? And I've had theists get angry at me, like for just asking that stuff. But to me, it's sort of like, but if it doesn't make sense and I'm trying to understand what you're telling me, shouldn't I ask if something doesn't make sense? I mean, if you were trying to explain something to me or you were telling me about something you believe and I didn't understand it, isn't the appropriate response for me to stop you and ask a question? Like, that's how I see it. I don't think it's rude. I think it shows that you're interested in what the person is saying to you.
I completely agree, and this falls apart. But the more I think about it, the worse this gets.
I know.
I mean, this is one of those things that's beyond stupid. Because, so when you die and you go to heaven, you go to be with your family. Isn't he presupposing that your family's going to be in heaven? Aren't some of them going to end up in hell? Oh, well, you go could be with your family members who are actually in heaven. If it's heaven, shouldn't I get to decide who I'd like to be around?
You'll get what you get in heaven, and you'll like it.
Yeah, it's not, heaven isn't really heaven. It's more like a gated community or something. And I to me, the real irony in all this is that, you said, well, why I would ask this person this question. Back then, I wasn't the kind of person who was going to, be confrontational. Let alone
I wouldn't even consider it confrontational as the problem. I would just be like, well, I don't understand.
Oh, it's not confrontational. It's just logical. But now I am much more like the kind, especially because I've been watching your show for the last year and a half. I feel much more comfortable saying, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I had somebody recently tell me, Tracy, just let it go. I was like, okay.
Well, I'd be curious to hear if you ever hear of anybody else who ever.
Oh, we will. I
similar
guarantee you,
story.
after this call, we're already probably getting letters from people who are like, yeah, my pastor used to say the same thing. Here's how our church explained it. So maybe we'll post something to the blog so you can see about it. We have an open thread.
I appreciate everything you do, and I appreciate you letting me ask you that question. Thank you very much.
Thanks for calling.
We've already gotten one email with this title lawnmower in it. So we're not even off the air yet. But all right, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You too. We got somebody calling.